Making today is a relatively beginner-friendly homemade boule bread. The ingredients are pretty simple, as it was something the common European peasant would eat as far back as the 13th century. Just water, flour, yeast, and optional salt. First I measured approximately 240 milliliters of water and 1/8 teaspoons of instant yeast. If possible, you should use bread flour since it contains more protein that will give a more caramelized flavor at the end, but all-purpose flour is fine too, which is what I used. I added as much as I could easily mix, adding flour gradually until it became a kind of dense pancakey batter. This mix is called poolish, and I'll use about half of it in the bread dough. Next, I'll get a damp towel and cover it for about 8 hours so the yeast can ferment and expand. Anywhere between 7 to 24 hours should work as well. More time just means you get a more weedy flavor. I forgot to remove the spoon, but that's no big deal. 8 hours later, I'll need to start kneading the dough. Prepare this clump as a square. For each side of the square, I'll stretch the dough out until it's just about to break, and then I'll fold it over. Turn the dough 90 degrees and repeat this until you can get a somewhat condensed form. You can do this as many times as you want. I did this just 2, but other recipes call for more or less. One hour later, I'll need to knead the dough one more time and then set this on parchment paper and square a cross-shaped X on top to allow the bread to puff up without bursting from the air trying to escape. If you don't do this, the air inside of the bread will likely find the less desirable point to escape from, and possibly make a ugly pattern or just break the shape of the bread with jagged lines all across it. Then, preheated at 500 degrees, the bread is put in the oven with an oven-safe bowl on top to keep in the steam of the bread. Baking time will definitely vary, but for me, it took about an hour to get a good blistered browning on my bread's crust. Now, while we wait, let's go talk about the bread's connection to the themes of unity and witnesses in the church. The symbolism of bread has been numerous throughout the Bible. It's mentioned right after Adam and Eve were exiled from Eden, a symbolism of not thriving, but just surviving. However, bread takes on a much more important meaning as a sign of God's will to share His goodness. It was the fruit gifted that nourished the Israelites, mentioned in Exodus verse 4, when God said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them, whether or not they will walk in my instruction." Going back to the symbolism of bread, it is again shown as a sign of sharing that unites God's chosen people in times of struggle in Matthew verse 18 to 21, when Jesus, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, gave thanks and broke the bread. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of bread and broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. The bread in this Gospel Matthew's account not only is used to unite the starving crowd, but also make them witness to the power of God. But probably the most famous depiction of bread in the scriptures was during the Last Supper. During the celebration of Passover, commemorating the day the Jewish people fled from Egypt, Jesus, saying what we still hear every Mass today, exclaims to his disciples, "Take, eat. This is my body." Then, taking the cup, he said, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now until the day when I drink from it with you in my Father's kingdom." Matthew 26, verses 26 to 29. The symbolism of bread in the form of communion is practiced today by 1 billion people that unite together for Mass to bear witness to God's ultimate sacrifice of His only Son to save everyone that believed. I had to check the bread several times, but eventually When there's some good browning, you can take it out of the oven. Okay, it's been like about 30 minutes since I finished taking it out of the oven. I'm gonna cut into it now. Just okay, that's worse thing. That is not that bad. It's pretty soft. There's not a whole bunch of bubbles that I expected, but it's still a lot better than what you get at a bakery. Let me try putting some butter on it right now. That's definitely, it tastes a lot of wheat compared to like what I usually get at the store. You say what you think of this?
It's good.
Good? Yeah, in total it took about, I would say, I'm counting total time, about maybe 8 hours, but the time I was actually like spending on it, maybe only like 3, since about a lot of it was unintended, just waiting. Yeah, it's pretty good.